From disproving the Earth is flat to proving the antiproton, we take a look at top 10 wagers that help shape history. Hello guys, it's PC Gaming Dude here, and today I will be narrating for you, bringing up some interesting facts that you may have never heard of before. Number 10. Disproving the Earth is flat. One day in 1870, Arthur Russell Wallace saw an ad in the newspaper. John Hampton, a fanatical flat earther, was weighing 500 pounds that nobody would be able to prove the Earth to be round using a certain experiment, today known as the Bedford-Level experiment. Easy money, thought Wallace, a respected geographer and biologist. The original experiment was conducted in 1838 by Samuel Rowbotham, pioneer of the modern flat Earth movement. Rowbotham proved that the Earth is flat by observing the boat through his telescope and not noting that it remained in his view, instead of dropping below his line of sight. Wallace immediately spotted the flaw in Rowbotham's method. He measured just 8 inches above the water, and his results were skewed by atmospheric refraction. Wallace recreated the experiment, measured correctly, and demonstrated the curvature of the Earth. The referees awarded the money to Wallace, but Hampton developed a vendetta against him. For the next 15 years, he sued, abused, and threatened Wallace, using all means at his disposal. Number 9. The start of nanotechnology. In 1959, Richard Feynman gave a landmark lecture at Caltech called There's Plenty of Room at the Bottom. He talked about a concept that wouldn't even have a name for decades: nanotechnology. He ended his talk with a $1,000 challenge for building a working electrical motor only 1/64th of a cubic inch in size. Less than a year later, Caltech graduate William McClellan had won his challenge. He built an operated motor out of 13 individual parts. After examining it for a while, Feynman wrote McClellan a check. He was happy to lose a bet, but was disappointed with the results. Feynman truly believed that current technology made the feat he envisioned impossible. He expected the motor that size to require a major technological breakthrough. Instead, McClellan built his device using crude tools such as toothpicks and a fine paintbrush. Number 8. The birth of Principia. One day in 1684, Christopher Wren met fellow luminaries Edmund Halley and Robert Hooke to talk matters of the day. The discussion soon turned to Kepler's law of planetary motion, and Wren issued a challenge to anyone capable of proving Kepler's laws, using the inverse square law. He set a time limit of 2 months and wagered a rare book worth 40 shillings. The solution invented Halley, but he turned to his friend Isaac Newton. He was enthused with the idea and started working on it. Eventually, Newton found the proof, but it took him a few years to get it, so he was ineligible to win the prize. However, Halley was so impressed that he pushed Newton to keep working, and eventually even published the resultant book at his own expense. That book became known as Philosophia Naturalis Principia Mathematica, which is one of the most famous books ever made by Isaac Newton. Number 7. John Lennon's last concert. Now, apparently sometime in 1974, November 28th. It was a crucial moment in rock history because John Lennon's last concert was that day when, believe it or not, Elton John was performing at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Lennon hadn't appeared live in concert for about 2 years and wouldn't appear again. And that moment wouldn't have taken place if not for a friendly bet between the two music icons. Earlier that year, Lennon released Walls and Bridges, which feature Elton John on 2 tracks. Surprise, surprise, and whatever gets you through the night. By that point, Lennon remained the only Beatle never to have a number 1 solo single in the United States. Elton believed whatever gets you through the night will reach number 1. He bet Lennon that if he was right, they would do a concert together. That November, the single topped the Billboard charts, and Lennon honored the wager. He appeared on stage to a raucous ovation and gave the world one final live performance before he died on December 8th, 1980. Number 6. Always bet on black holes. Stephen Hawking, Kip Thorne, and John Preskill are today of 3 learned theoretical physicists, and they significantly improved our understanding of black holes. The trio set a bet in 1997 concerning information being able to escape a black hole. While Hawking and Thorne believe that information is lost forever, Preskill argued that it could be recovered from the radiation emitted as black holes evaporate. This type of radiation was first theorized by Hawking in 1974 and is named after him. Initially, Hawking claimed that Preskill's notation, contradicted the very idea of quantum mechanics, however. After advancements in string theory, Hawking reversed his position. Preskill was glad to win the bet, but stressed that most credit went to Hawking for his work on black hole radiation. Preskill's prize was an encyclopedia of his choice where information can be retrieved at will. His choice was Total Baseball, the ultimate baseball encyclopedia. Number 5. James Hogan's career. James P. Hogan was one of the most successful sci-fi writers of the last 50 years. Started his career on Office Beat. When he was in his 30s, he was a sales ex, specializing in computer equipment, and had no interest in the career change. That one day, Hogan saw Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. While he enjoyed the movie, Hogan disliked the ending and complained about it to his co-workers. Eventually, a fed-up colleague suggested to Hogan that he should write his own book. Hogan took up the challenge, and the whole thing turned into an office bet worth roughly £50 that he would not be able to write a sci-fi novel and get it published. In 1977, however, Hogan published Inherit the Stars and won the Wagger. It would be the first of roughly 30 novels and dozens of short stories. Number 4. Pictures in Motion. By 1872, Leland Stanford was a powerful, wealthy industrialist who turned his interest toward horse racing. He became deeply embroiled in a popular discussion of the day. Whether a horse's feet all left the ground at the same time while galloping or not, he hired photographer Edward Muybridge to find out. The story goes that Stanford bet $25,000 on the outcome of Muybridge's experiment. However, there was no conclusive evidence of this, so it's likely that Stanford only waggered his name and reputation. By 1878, Muybridge produced the required photos using state-of-the-art technology capable of snapping 12 shots in half a second. They clearly showed the horse's feet off the ground simultaneously. More important, though, they served as the precursor to motion pictures. He might have not made a fortune, but Stanford was proven correct. Crucially, he realized the importance of Muybridge's innovation and continued to fund his work. Eventually, Muybridge built the zooproxyscope, the first movie projector. Number 3. Kepler's motions of planetary motion. Newton's principle was born from a wagger to better understand Kepler's laws of planetary motion. A century earlier, those same laws were the result of a boastful bet between the German astronomer and his mentioner. In 1600, Johannes Kepler started to work for a Danish astronomer named Tycho Brahe as an assistant. Brahe was known for his detailed collection of astronomical observations, but as Kepler soon found out, he was also protective of his data. Brahe limited Kepler's access and tasked him with understanding the orbit of Mars. Mars had one of the least circular orbits, which didn't fit current views of the solar system back then. This actually proved useful for Kepler in testing out new theories. Perhaps also to show off his teacher, Kepler bet that he would be able to figure out Mars' orbit in just 8 days. In the end, it took him about 8 years, and Brown never get to see it, but Kepler's efforts result in the laws of planetary motion. Number 2. America's first road trip. In 1903, Henrietta Nelson Jackson was an automobile enthusiast who went against the popular thought of the day, which said that the car was just a fad with no practical future. After a visit to the social club, Jackson accepted a $50 bet that he would not be able to drive a car across the United States in less than 90 days. He embarked on what became the country's first cross-country road trip. Jackson had no mechanical or navigated experience and barely knew how to drive, so he convinced a man named Sewell Crocker to be his traveling companion and mechanic. On May 23rd, the duo set off for San Francisco and headed for New York. They arrived in Manhattan about 63 days later. Jackson won the $50 bet and wholeheartedly proved the car's value, but he lost around $8,000 in repairs and spare parts. Number 1. Proving the antiproton. Now, believe it or not, Barras and Gerson Goldhaber were two of the leading particle physicists of the 20th century. After escaping Nazi Germany, they relocated to the United States and proceeded to contribute greatly to our understanding of the subatomic world. Collectively, the brothers helped to document new particles, determine the spin of certain particles, and show that the expansion of the universe is increasing due to dark energy. But they clashed over one particular issue: the existence of the antiproton. Gerson was part of a team at Berkeley, working to find the elusive antiparticle. Conversely, Maras was so convinced that he bet theorist Hartland Snyder $500 that the antiproton didn't exist. In 1959, however, Owen Chamberlain and Emil Segre proved the antiproton's existence and won the Nobel Prize. Gerson's team was just a few months behind and ended up confirming their find. Chamberlain later admitted that his work was boasted by the bet, and it deserved to prove Barras Goldhaber wrong. So, what do you think, guys? How was this awesome list? Because, yeah, even though it is very interesting, gotta go. Let us know in the comments section down below what top 10 we should do next, and see you guys next time in another top 10. Take care.